The great irony of the field that I study and look at. I study human performance and how we interact within organizations. And the great irony is that most of the researchers, most of the professors, most of the people that are in the field studying what it takes to do good things in an organization and the world around us actually don't practice what they preach. And I see this so much. It's really, really funny. When I first came into the profession, I was like, what is going on here? Why are we so incongruent on what it means to live a healthy and successful life and what we actually preach and talk about? You were to actually read most of this stuff, it's basic in terms of how we understand the world, right? You actually try to live a healthy life. You try to have friends and family build relationships. You try to cooperate, all these sort of basic things. You try to work on trust. But then when you interact with the researchers, the professors within the field, and you actually start getting to see it, how they actually behave, you realize that there's this big, big hypocrisy that's actually going on, and they don't actually practice what they preach. It took me a long time, and I still find this really, really bizarre where I don't get it, right? Like I try to practice, I try to live as healthy as I possibly can. And I try to do things that are helpful and nice to as many people as I possibly can. But then that is considered somehow the wrong thing to do in the profession. The thing that I'm supposed to do in the profession is to be self centered, look after myself, um, work as hard as I possibly can all the time, don't take any breaks in terms of a robot. It is considered heroic and it's considered the right thing to do to talk about how much that you actually work on the weekends. And if you only work a half a day or you only work a Saturday, well, then you're really too lazy and you shouldn't be in the profession. You should be working at night all of the time. When you come home, you should not be paying attention to your kids, your family, your spouse, your wife. And you should be working all of the time because that's what real, good, legitimate researchers actually do. And I find this really bizarre when I can't even openly talk. This is considered somehow a bad thing. It really is. I don't think you understand. It's considered a bad thing for me to openly talk about this. I'm hurting my career right now. That I do take time for my family. I do have a side little project called the Reciprocity Project that I'm trying to build. That's entrepreneurial. That's the irony is I am trying to do something entrepreneurial and innovative, and I'm an entrepreneurship and innovation professor, and this is considered bad. It goes against what I'm supposed to actually do. I'm supposed to actually do research on people that do entrepreneurship and innovation, and anything that's related to actually you doing it, that is the wrong thing to do. And I'm not going to get a job someplace, which is true. I know for a fact it's true, um, that I'm not going to get a job someplace because I'm actually doing this. You know, what I want you to think about and what I want you to do and process, and I'm just pointing out the great ironies of all of this kind of stuff, which I it makes me angry, and many times today I think it's really just bizarre. I live in this sort of bizarre world. It's like that bizarre, like the comic. Remember, many of you don't know this, but there used to be newspaper comics on Saturday morning, and there was this cartoon called the Bizarro. It was one of my favorite ones because it was like this alternative universe where things were just really bizarre, but it was like to the point. I live in that world right now where that happens. And so I try to do the best that I possibly can. This is where my advice in terms of taking away from this is do the best that you can possibly can. Live a healthy life. Continue to live that healthy life and forget about what everybody else is doing around you. Do things that are healthy, do things that allow you to have longevity, and continue to work on that as much as you possibly can. If you need to take breaks, take breaks. If you need to spend time with your family and friends, do that. If somebody goes on your case about how you're not working enough and all that kind of stuff, that's to them. That's their problem. They're dealing with some internal struggle. And guess what? If it doesn't work out for you, you don't get tenure, you don't get the thing that you want to go and find a legitimate job someplace else. This is a ridiculous career for that expectation. Go find something, somebody, some other place in terms of dealing with this. You know, it's really funny. Um, I have people in my life that are corporate lawyers, and they actually have a better life than very successful corporate lawyers in the big city and the big, the big towers and stuff, the suits. They actually have a better life because they can get. It's okay to take time off, and that's openly talked about, that you take time off for yourself and for your family, and people are somewhat okay with that. I want you to understand that you can build a good solid base behind you, and you can really live a healthy life if you choose to. Now, if you choose to do the opposite, you could do that as well. So I'd encourage you to live the healthiest life that you can possibly live, given with who you are, and work within those particular constraints. If you have a lot of things that are going on, well, that's okay. You just have to work within those particular constraints. I want you to think about that. Is what does it mean for you to live a healthy life so that you can be quote unquote optimal, whatever the hell that means, so that you, when you get to work, that you feel healthy enough that you can work, and you could repeatedly do that time and time again. I stress this so much because this is an internal struggle that I go through. And I want you to think about this as you go through these internal struggles, which we all go through, that you live your life. And no matter what that means, it's healthy enough for you, and continue to do that time and time again. You're good enough. I want to remind you that. And sometimes you just need to say, you need to hear somebody say, I'm proud of you. And you need to repeatedly say that inside. No matter what goes on, I'm proud enough. You write a little bit, you do a little bit, you're good enough. And you keep going forward from there. I encourage you to do it. It's going to be hard. It's going to be the big struggle. Everybody's going to say that you're not good enough, but nuts to them. You are.